Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Roses Are Reddit, the official Reddit Bachelor podcast. I am your quality host, and with me tonight are my special guests, Queen Overthrown and Grant Vandevanter.
Hello.
Hi.
How's it going,
did we
guys?
say your name right?
Yeah, did I get that right?
Yeah, actually, yes. Elementary school, middle school, high school, and college, the professors had a tough time saying it, but you guys absolutely nailed it. So good job.
Oh my gosh. I was like, dang, we should have asked beforehand. Good job.
Yeah, proud of me.
All right.
Proud of
Yeah.
me. So, Grant, for those of you who may not remember, was the sarcastic electrician.
I like how, yeah. Okay.
The sarcastic electrician. I like that title. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
So you had, and I remember when we were talking about the previews and the bios, I saw your bio and I felt so bad. You had the worst bio.
Oh,
Like
what
they-
a nice thing to start off with.
No, like it wasn't like, it was literally out of his control. Like the producers
Oh, you
gave him,
mean like,
like
yeah.
they gave him like, he is a fourth generation electrician
And that
and
was
he's
it.
super sarcastic. And maybe
Oh.
Becca will like, create
Yeah,
a spark
it
with him.
kind of
Fine,
seemed,
yeah.
when I saw that, it kind of seemed like, oh, I'm a super sarcastic electrician. I don't know if that is a good thing or if that is a bad thing. I couldn't
think
really
it
tell which
sounds good.
one, but
You're-
maybe some people are into that. So, it's a
There you go.
toss-up. Who knows?
I
Yeah.
felt really bad.
It's not
but-
bad. It's just like not a lot of information.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like, oh, that's great.
We're just encompassing you into these two random things.
Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah. But wait, before we get too into anything, I have to ask: you're an electrician currently? That is what you do, or you know?
Yeah. I
Okay.
joined the apprenticeship program 2.5 years ago, and
Oh,
right
okay.
now I'm a full-time working electrician. But
Oh,
I
awesome.
also do part-time boxing coaching on the side as well.
Yeah, that's what I was asking because I was like, your Instagram, my light stalking that I did, that's not really stalking, said boxing in comedy.
It's
Yes?
kind of stalking. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah. So it's the Instagram is just kind of for the Instagram's just kind of for all the stuff on the side.
Okay,
I like to do boxing coaching, and that's kind of more along the lines of my passion.
Okay.
Right now I'm trying to get through the apprenticeship, the 5-year program. And once I do that, I can always fall back on that to make decent money to get by. But
Yeah.
one of the things that I want to kind of stick to right now is the boxing coaching on the side, because eventually that's what I want to do full time, because it's what I'm passionate about.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's always cool to hear.
Yeah. I did boxing for a while. It's very hard.
Yeah.
It is. It's a good workout. Yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
really good workout and so much coordination. Like it's helped me become better with my coordination. I'll say that.
I can
Yeah,
barely stand on my
it's
own
definitely
2 feet.
it's a good sweat for sure. It's
Yeah.
the way to go with working out.
Yeah. So everyone go get trained by you.
Absolutely. Why not?
So that was really cool to hear that, like to see that. Like I feel it's always interesting to me to see how people just like completely get like shafted by this process. Like that's like a really cool thing. Like you're a boxing coach and you do all this awesome stuff, but no, he's a sarcastic electrician.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great job, but I just feel like, there's good. All right. So the question we have to ask everybody is, what motivated you to apply for the show or be on, or what was the story with that?
So it's pretty interesting. I was actually at work installing electrical about 6 months ago, and I got a phone call from a number down in LA. And at first I look at this and I'm like, oh, what is this, like a credit card company? And I pick up the phone and it's one of the casters for the Bachelorette. And I was like, oh my God. So I talked to this guy and he's like, yeah, if you could just send us in, 10 photos and send us in a questionnaire, that'd be great. And I was like, how are you guys contacting me? And apparently one of my best friends, Scott Miller, was the one that signed me up for the show. Because he thought it'd be good for television, and he thought I'd be good for the Bachelorette in general. So he's kind of the one that led me into the whole process.
Oh, all right. What a friend. What a pal.
What a good friend. Yeah, I got him to
That's
blame,
interesting.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Scott, thanks for getting me booted night 1. That's great.
Yeah, shout out to Scott, but it's okay. It's all good.
Yeah, it was a fun experience.
So this was 6 months ago. So did you know, so you mentioned before that you didn't know who's going to be, you were watching during Ari's season. So did you know, so you had no idea who was going to be the lead?
Yeah, actually, I'm pretty sure all the guys, we actually all got accepted onto the show only a couple days before we found out who the Bachelorette actually was. So we got the congratulations saying, congrats, ABC Primetime has picked you without even knowing who the Bachelorette was going to be.
Yeah, I think Christian Estrada said that too when we were talking to him.
He did.
One of the people that were.
Oh, Christian, is that that's the soccer player, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I remember meeting him. Yeah, I remember talking to him for a little bit that night. That's right.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't Becca, who would you have liked to see? So who is your, like, at the time, who you're like, yes, I want this person?
So it's funny you asked that, because the whole time, you know, I kind of feel like I could have narrowed it down to a few of them. I felt like it was either going to be the younger Becca, the older Becca, who the Bachelorette is right now, or Tia. I figured it was going to be one of those three. But when I found out that it was older Becca, I was pretty excited because, you know, she seems pretty great. So I think if I could have, I don't know, if I would have picked out anyone, I think I would have had it be younger Becca, because she's really fun and she seems like she's really good for television. And I could kind of see her having a really good personality. But I mean, I for sure was not disappointed when I found out that Becca Kufrin was going to be the Bachelorette for sure. I'm sure all the guys were pretty stoked on that one.
Yeah.
That's fair. So what about Becca Kufrin was like the most enticing? Like, what was enticing to you about
creepy,
her?
Yeah.
Sorry.
The most enticing part about Becca, you know, she's really pretty. You know, one of the things is she looks like such a catch. But also she just seems like she's so natural, and it doesn't really seem like she's too phased with like being in front of the camera. It's amazing to see, you know, these women go in front of like all these cameras, because it's such an overwhelming process to be there when you have all these cameras and you have no experience, you know, being an actor or being down in LA in front of the scene for all your entire life. Like, I'm an electrician from the Bay Area, so this is the first time that I've even been in front of a camera, you know, in general. So to see her kind of go in front of the screen and just kind of be able to just be herself, it's pretty amazing to see that happen. So she seems like she was really good from, you know, a good fit from the start of just being the Bachelorette, I think, in general. And her personality seems really cool. You know, watching Ari's season, she never was one of the ones to get into any of the drama. And at the same time, she always kind of stayed true to herself. So I think one of the most enticing parts about Becca was just to kind of see her carry herself through the season and never get, you know, too dramatic or too worked up about anything.
That's fair.
Yeah, she seems very chill.
Yeah, very poised.
Yeah, for sure.
So we have to ask this because Jordan has put this thought into our minds.
Jordan, are you talking about the model Jordan Kimball?
Yeah.
Model Jordan.
So
him.
Are you wearing socks with your shoes right now?
Oh my God.
I am. I'm currently wearing socks with my shoes. I would never want to get insulted because Jordan knows all, right? I mean, you know.
Okay. I feel like we have to do our listeners this service of informing them about the sock state of our guests.
Yeah. It's an important thing.
For the record, I am wearing socks but no shoes, and Duo is wearing neither. So
yes, scandalous. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm currently at a pool party hangout, but I wouldn't want to get dissed by Jordan, so I made sure to wear socks to a pool party no matter what. He's put that fear into my mind, you know, always wear socks no matter where you are. So
yeah,
make sure to do that.
Don't put your feet.
So speaking of Jordan, let's kind of dive in. So like, you probably get to meet these guys a little bit more firsthand than the rest of us. So it would be cool if you could give us like your like insider like opinion on like people like Jordan,
or even your hot takes.
Yeah,
We'll tell you the people, I guess.
The peeps. Yeah. Let's start with Jordan. He's always a fun one.
So within my limo, I was able to meet the guys that were in my limo, and it's a pretty short ride. It's not too long. You know, you leave from the location to take you to the mansion. You don't really have enough time, you know, to really get to know everyone too well. In that small period of time, everyone seems so nervous just to get out of the limo. And I mean, I got to admit, when I pulled up to the mansion and I see Becca standing there in that nice dress that she had on, my heart just sank to the bottom of my chest. I'm like, oh my God, there she is. This is unbelievable. So I think the real time to kind of get to know like all the guys was inside the mansion after the first, you know, meet and greet with Becca. You know, during that period, your heart just sinks and the whole thing just seems like a blackout. You meet her, you go inside and you think, what the hell did I just say to her? I have no idea. So within the time period that you're in the mansion, that's the time that you have to kind of get to know the guys a little bit. But at the same time, everyone tries to play it so cool because it's such a shock to everyone to see all those cameras, and everyone kind of seems like they're so, they have to be so perfect. You have to watch what you say because you're mic'd up, and you really have to be careful with like, for me, I tried to, kind of keep myself together almost too much because I didn't want to start any drama. That was my main thing going into it. It was just like, please do not turn me into the villain on this. I'm not a villain. I promise. Right. I'm a sarcastic electrician apparently, but I'm not a villain. So just please keep it cool on me. Yeah. So, but when I was, yeah. But I gotta say, when I was there, I was able to really connect with Mike Renner. Mike Renner is a really cool guy. Yeah, he had the cardboard Ari intro. It was pretty something else. I was actually in the limo with him, and all of a sudden the cardboard Ari comes in the limo, and everyone's looking around like, who is doing this? And no one said a word. So he was trying to go under the radar with it, like, no, it's not me. It's not me. So yeah, I was able to connect with Mike. And I was also able to connect with Jake a little bit too. It's kind of a bummer that he got sent home just because he knew Becca from back home. Dude. Yeah. Darius was also one of my buddies that night. He also got sent home on the night one process. And Blake also seemed like a really good guy too. So, my time was kind of short and sweet. I didn't really get the chance to really meet all the guys there, but those are the ones that I really connected with. And then also I was able to kind of pinpoint ones that I probably wouldn't have been best of friends with while I was there.
So because this is a dramatic show, let's talk about the ones you wouldn't have been best of friends with.
Okay.
What about these people, and feel free to name names. What about these?
Understandable.
What about these people that kind of turned you off and like gave you the side eye?
So the first one that I wasn't too sure about having a real conversation with was obviously the chicken when he came in, David. I took a chance out of the night to go up and try and talk to him, but he seemed like he was having so much fun with the whole process. Good on him. I tried talking to him. My little sister actually works within the same company that he does, but he's in a separate location. And so I was trying to pull him aside and say, what's up, man? Like, I heard you're working for LinkedIn, not LinkedIn. What's the company? Oracle. And Lincoln works for Oracle. And he kind of seems like he didn't really want to talk to me. He kind of seemed like he was kind of like, I'm good, like didn't really acknowledge me too well. And we shook hands afterwards, but I was like, okay, he doesn't want to talk. That's fine, whatever. And then
that's weird.
It was kind of weird. And then later on in the night when, there's time periods when you're on the couch and you're talking with all the guys, and then it's kind of like under the radar. But then there's also times where you're in the same situations, and then the cameras come around, and then you kind of see who's there for the right reasons, and then who's there, just to be on the show, right? So anytime that the camera would come around, all of a sudden Lincoln would come out and be like, "Oh, well, Becca seems absolutely amazing," and it's like, "Oh, no, I don't know about this guy. I don't know. Yeah. He seems kind of fake." So. Yeah, there was a couple that got kind of a weird vibe from him from the start, and I didn't really get a chance to get to know him too well. But, I guess you kind of pick and choose who you want to have a good first impression with and who you don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lincoln did not get your first impression.
He did not get my first impression, Rose. No.
Okay. So if you had stuck around longer, what could you see your edit being? Like, how would you want to be portrayed, and how would you feel like you would actually be portrayed? And like, do you see any discrepancies between the two?
It's kind of tough to say. It's funny to see because when I was there, one of the most entertaining guys to be around was definitely Leo. He was cracking jokes all night long and making all the guys laugh. He was that one guy that I was like, this is going to be the superstar of the show. I don't know if they're going to make him the villain or the entertaining guy, but he's going to be a standout. And when I'm looking at these past 4 episodes, he barely gets any time compared to what I feel like he deserves. Because, he's kind of under the radar. Jordan is the one that's stealing the show 60% of the time. And I didn't really hear him even say a peep on the first night. Maybe I just wasn't around him enough to be able to tell. But what do I see myself being portrayed as? It's pretty easy for me to connect, I think, with people. And so I think I definitely would have been really good friends with some of the guys there. At the same time, I do kind of have a weird sense of humor. So maybe the sarcastic, quote unquote, electrician would have come out a couple times. It would have been interesting to see what they would have done with that. So, I mean, you know, it's such a toss up with what they would have done versus, you know, how I would have been while I was there.
Yeah.
So describe your weird sense of humor. Because it's been
putting on the spot. It's like when people are like, I'm a comedian, and someone's like, tell us a joke.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
We're asking the classic question, how are you funny?
So
yeah.
I think this whole process started like about a year and a half ago. One of my buddies, Gino, is a videographer, and one day he whips out his camera and goes, dude, Grant, you got to start making videos. You got to start making comedy videos for us. Like we'll make videos and just see how it goes. And so what I did is I made these 1-minute Instagram videos that I put earlier deep down in the pages of my Instagram right now. And that's why I have sketch comedian in my bio. Mm-hmm. And they were kind of a hit. I mean, I started making these things and everyone that I know was like, dude, you got to keep making these videos. You got to keep making these videos. So I think to put it in a nutshell, you just kind of have to peep the videos to see what the weird sense of humor is like, because that's the best way to describe it. And I really can't put it into words. It's too tough to even explain. You just got to see the videos, and then that'll give you a good broad sense of what it's all about.
I think I did see one, but I like couldn't watch it because we were about to come on, so I'll have to.
Oh, okay, sorry for interrupting.
Check that out. Yeah, how dare you?
Yeah.
All right, fair. Everyone can go check out the Instagram that way.
Yes.
Okay.
So now here is the most important question. Are you willing to discuss the episode with us?
The episode as far as
what the first one?
The past one?
Yeah.
I'm trying to recap of what happened. So I know Jordan busted out the golden gungees and gave Becca a little lap dance. I think is that the right one?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then they also went to the snow and the lumberjacks came out. Most were fortunate with chopping the wood in half, but some not so much.
Lincoln was for how jacked he is. The thing that really stood out to me is how unable he was to chop the wood.
It is kind of surprising to me. You know, when I was there, I was like, this dude is fucking huge. I mean, he's pretty jacked. And I don't know on his Instagram, he posts his morning breakfast and then his daily workouts at Equinox. And it's so interesting to me. You know, yesterday he was using 15s and today he's using 12s. Like that's crazy.
What?
No, it's not that crazy. I'm just kidding.
What is he like?
No, it doesn't sound crazy. I feel like now
it's pretty similar. It's pretty basic stuff. But okay. You know, I remember seeing the football episode and
he was really bad at it.
He kind of seemed like he didn't really know what he was doing. I don't know growing up if he had if he didn't really play too many sports. I know he goes to the gym a lot, but I mean, maybe athletically he's just not as coordinated as some of the other guys.
Maybe not. You have RK intrigue now because he's a big gym person. So now it's good. Judge the workouts.
Yeah, it's funny to see. You would have definitely guessed otherwise for sure, but now it's like, oh, I guess he's not very athletic. It's it's kind of a shock.
Interesting.
He is
because the account is private, so we'll never know.
His account is of course it's private.
Well, that's
oh God.
Lincoln,
Are you in our? Okay. We're gonna try. Okay.
Let's have a talk about Lincoln, and this will cause him to never accept our follow request. Apparently. Lincoln.
What are you gonna say?
We're just gonna talk about what.
Are you talking about the poop thing?
No.
Oh, okay.
We're not talking about.
Sorry, I brought that up.
It was funny. It's really funny.
No, it's not. Okay, what are we talking about?
So Lincoln, before the show, was arrested on charges of assault and battery.
Yeah.
Apparently, he groped a girl on a boat.
I don't like talking about this.
And was found guilty after the show aired.
Okay.
So apparently the show knew about this. They knew that he was being charged and they casted him anyways.
Wow.
So,
well, they must have had I don't know.
A lot of people are
I know that they do security background checks for the show, so maybe it was so recent that maybe it didn't come up when they did the background check.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe he didn't get press charges until he actually left, because I know it's a pretty strict process going into it. So maybe it just went under the radar. I don't know.
Okay. Maybe.
So a lot of people are kind of saying, how could the show do this? How could the producers do such a terrible thing?
It's like,
yeah.
You don't think the show's producers are like seeing this and like, yeah, like this guy.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it was probably just a mistake or like an accident.
I think it was 100% intentional.
Really?
Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely intentional.
I don't know. After watching, what's that one show called? That's Unreal.
Yeah.
That's like a real TV show about The Bachelor. I feel like everything is a setup now. Like nothing is real.
It's kind of funny to see because, you know, looking back on the previous seasons, you've got this big mix of guys, right? There's about 28 to 29 guys on the first night. And I feel like you can't really make a show if you have 29, you know, Romeos on this thing that are actually going to steal her heart. You got to have, you know, you got to have some troublemakers, you got to have some drama queens, and you've got to have at the same time those guys that are really going to care for Becca. So I think they got to make good television. So maybe it's a mix every single time.
Ooh, that's a good point.
You're definitely getting that from like, I feel like Jordan and Jean Blanc and Lincoln. I think definitely those guys are kind of like the stirring it up, and David, the other one.
Yeah, and usually how it goes is they keep those in for the entertainment, and then right at the very but like when things start getting really serious, then they'll take them out. But it's like, it kind of stinks though, because I feel like a lot of people to be totally fair, I don't really know you, but I just from speaking to you seem like a nice guy. Or like somebody who would have something to offer. So it just kind of stinks to see people who would actually be like an okay person to date, go home, and then just have other people for the entertainment. So I don't know.
Yeah, you know, it was one of those things that was kind of a bummer. You know, you go through all these months and months of, you know, interviews and processes to get on this thing. But one of the biggest things that was not aired was the fact that I never even got a chance to talk to Becca the first night.
Oh no.
So I met her. I met her outside of the limo. But you know, like I said, it's such a blackout, and you really don't remember because your heart is just pounding. All of a sudden you get out of the limo and it's just, you could hear a pin drop on the ground. It's dead silent. And you see the whole entire scene behind everything. And there she is. You have to make it kind of short and sweet. And it's like, all of a sudden you have to put on this like charm in front of a scene that you've never done before. So it definitely is outside of your comfort zone. The whole thing flies by within 10 seconds, it seems like. And then from that point on, you have to have a conversation with her in order to kind of make that lasting first impression. And unfortunately, I was never given that opportunity to speak to her after I was introduced.
So really quick little thing I want to ask. When you're in the house that first night and there's so many people going around like asking to speak to her, how is that actually like? I feel like I don't know how that would really be. Like, is she just in random places and you try to go find her? Like, what is, I don't get it.
It's quite the scene. I mean, you know, you've got 29 guys that are trying to talk to her, right? But at the same time, you know, you can't be standing around where she's at, because then 29 guys are drooling. You know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily the best look to be like, I want to talk to her, you know? So you have to kind of balance out the level with like trying to play your cool, but at the same time, you want to get that small window of time where you can talk to her. Myself, I was pretty distracted because, you know, there's a lot of guys, and it's such a good, you know, like such a relieving experience to finally be able to get to meet the other guys that have been going through the same interview process as you, because you don't know anyone going into the first night. And so, you know, naturally I was just kind of there being like, hey, it's nice to meet you, you know, meeting all the guys. And the whole time flies by so fast. So before you know it, the rose ceremony goes on and you're like, oh my God, like it's getting down to it right now. I got to find a window to talk to her. So she's throughout random places throughout the mansion, in and out of the backyard. The backyard's massive. And so it's kind of almost hard to find her. It's like a maze, you know, where is she? I got to go talk to her right now. So it really is harder to find that window than people might assume that first night, especially because there's so many guys that need to get that time. So it's kind of tough to find that small window.
I think I did not it just kind of came to me that I'm like, why don't they just go talk to her? And I'm like, wait, maybe it's not like
exactly.
that. So.
Exactly. It's
why
yeah,
is
it's
it
a little,
easy?
Yeah. And also, what time were you guys done? Because it was like light outside, right?
7, 8.
I want to say we had the rose ceremony around 7:30 in the morning.
Are you serious?
I'd
You
be-
were up all night?
We were up all night long, and I swear to God, by the end of that first night, you're just like, oh my God, just please let me just get this rose ceremony over with right now. Like, let's just.
It's like
everyone's so tired.
You're like,
You're drinking the whole time, and it's kind of just like one of those things where you're like, all right, let's do this thing. Let's do the damn thing. Come on.
Let's do the damn thing.
I would be asleep. Like I would
be like, I'll be on the couch napping, calling on TV.
Yeah, Corinne's idea of taking a nap.
I think I understand her now. Okay.
It's funny to see some of the rose ceremonies now in the episodes, because I feel like the longer you're there, the more progressively tired you get. And like some of these guys, I mean, you got one guy in a tracksuit that looked like he was 75% asleep, and it looks like a zombie is at the rose ceremony. He's sleepwalking. Yeah, Nick Spezza's.
That would be me.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to watch.
Yeah.
They said in his bio he wears his signature tracksuit, and I was like, that sounds ridiculous. And he's
And
worn
then he
it
did.
every rose ceremony.
I know. I don't know.
Goodness.
I don't know why he was wearing that thing. Was that on purpose? Was he waking up from a nap?
I think it's supposed to be like his thing.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's got a thing. Like Leo's got his hair.
Right. Jordan wears socks. Nick doesn't.
Yeah. The usual.
So, speaking of rose ceremonies and trying to find time, Jean Blanc found time. Jean Blanc found lots of time, and he did not use it very well. I'm gonna go ahead and say it was a very poor choice.
I'm drawing a blank.
He was the one who said, I think I'm falling in love with you. Then he changed it to I'm falling in love with you.
And then I didn't really mean that.
Yes.
Because I want to, before we talk about this, I want to do a quick little thing that I heard today. So Becca was on Anna Faris's podcast, Unqualified, because Anna Faris is amazing. So I found that out when I was listening to her. And it was funny because Anna was like I know her. I'm like, Anna, she was like, oh, what would you do? They play this game where they're like, what if this happened? What would you do? And so she said, what would you do if one of the guys told you they loved you on your first one-on-one date? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny you mentioned that because they recorded this way ahead of time, because that actually happened. And she was like, I'd probably send him home, which happened. And she was like, unless I was feeling it, then maybe that's okay. It depends on where we are. But
right.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's so funny because you did send him home. So just side note.
Yeah. I know. I think that was just the time that they got to speak to each other during one of like the group sessions that night. And like, I don't even think he got that chance to have a one-on-one date. So for him to drop, I love you, that seemed kind of quick to the trigger, huh?
I think he would have been okay if he didn't do that. But I think people panic and they think, oh my gosh, she doesn't notice me or she doesn't like me as much. I got to do something.
You got to kind of stand out. I couldn't really tell what that whole approach was with Jean Blanc because he seemed like a pretty good guy the first night. I was able to talk to him a little bit, and he definitely didn't seem like he was playing the villain part. And when he said, I love you, it seemed like it was kind of quick to the trigger with like all of a sudden, he loves this girl. Maybe he's trying to stand out.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I didn't understand was his response to her afterwards when she took it as though he said it just to say it. I think maybe he was just too stressed out at the time to even really process what he was really thinking. And I think he might have gotten shafted by the whole way the show ended up portraying him. Because I don't think that he actually, is a bad guy, even though a lot of people might think that right now.
Yeah. No, I think it's definitely partly the way the show
felt
makes
like
you feel and the way it says and shows things.
It definitely felt like the kind of like, you have that reaction where you say something stupid and you're like, oh, I didn't mean it.
Yeah,
I think
that's exactly. Like, sorry, I didn't mean it or whatever.
I think
that's the thing, because once it's recorded, you can't be like, oh wait, I take that back.
Just kidding.
Just kidding. Yeah, exactly.
What a funny prank, right?
It's on camera at this point. So,
do you think that Becca kind of like freaked out a lot about that, and I was kind of like eye rolling what she was doing.
It seemed a little dramatic in my opinion, because I remember the next day she went on a date with Wills and she was still kind of worked up about it, but I don't know. I don't think he meant it the way that she took it. I think he was kind of more kind, with his approach with what he tried intentionally doing versus what came out of his mouth.
Right.
So it seemed, I know that the show is super overwhelming with, the cameras and the short periods of time that you get to actually, meet and greet, with the Bachelorette. And so I think maybe she was just stressed out at the time, instead of necessarily taking it all out on Jean Blanc for what he said. I think she was just kind of going through some stuff at the time.
That's a good way to think of it, because I was trying to, in my mind, be like, okay, how would I feel in this situation? And I didn't think I'd feel that way, but maybe just the whole environment makes things, seem worse than what they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, I felt kind of bad for him because I always thought he seemed.
Yeah, he seemed nice. The funny part that he had a tweet that his cologne company is going to be making donations to girls for inequality.
Mm-hmm.
That was his Instagram post. I just thought it was really funny that it was obviously a tweet for girls for equity, because that's the charity, but he said girls for inequality.
Oh, I was like, I don't.
Jean Blanc, man, he's slipping on his words lately, man. He's got to catch up.
I know. What a goofy dude.
He's like Grayson Allen trip.
Oh my
gosh. I think he's got good intentions. I think his maybe he needs to bust out a thesaurus. I don't know. He needs to get his words down a little bit better. We'll see.
Yeah,
wish the best for him.
Feelings. Yeah, me too.
But yeah, so you brought up Will's one-on-one. Will's had a nice one-on-one. I thought it was cute. Yeah. It was very Will seems like a nice guy.
I never got a chance to really talk to him that night, but he seems like a great dude. He seems like a great dude to kind of, be on that one-on-one date with Becca the day after she's, super worked up about something, because he seems like a pretty relaxing guy to be around, and he seems like a really nice guy. So that seemed like kind of a good choice for Becca at the time.
He definitely had that grounded smile,
yeah. Yeah, what's up, Becca?
What do you think about Garrett's one-on-one?
They kind of seem like they're really hitting it off right now. I'm not really too sure what happens at the very end, but I think Garrett's got a pretty good shot. Even that first night, he kind of seemed like he had an air about him that seems like, okay, I could see this guy going pretty far. Shit, I gotta go against him. Damn it. He seems like he's kind of killing it right now. I think he's in a good position with Becca.
Yeah, he's got that kind of goofy, laid-back attitude, which I think is cool. I liked. I think it's interesting. His bio was the one that said that he does the Chris Farley impression, and
it was actually.
It's really good, and all I can hear him every time he opens his. He sounds like Chris Farley.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. He kind of does have that. He kind of does have that, I don't know what the word is. He's kind of got that thing to his voice that kind of
cadence.
Yeah. It kind of sounds like Chris Farley when he talks. His impression, I think it was actually aired. His impression the first night where everyone has their bios. Like you got Joe, the grocery store guy, and then Garrett came up, and I was like, wow, that was a pretty solid Chris Farley impression. Damn.
It was really
good for him.
How embarrassing would that be if you're like, I could do a Chris?
That's one of the things, that is one of the things about the show. It's like, oh, I'm going to throw myself out there, and then what? Am I going to get dumped? Oh shit.
Yeah.
It makes you kind of think about what you want to say before you say it. And
I know.
One of the biggest things that they say, leading into it is just be yourself, just be yourself. It's all good. But it's like, well,
it's not good.
I could be myself, but I don't know if I want to be myself fully right now. This is, there's 17 million people are going to look at this. So maybe I should think about what I want to say right now. We'll see.
Yeah. And you don't get as many chances, on a show like this. Like if you're dating somebody, you're like, well, that seemed weird, but I don't know them yet. But in a show like this, if anything happens, they're like, bye.
Yeah, exactly.
You get it. You kind of have to. I'm
right.
Harping on her, but yeah.
It's such a different process. And, I think leading into the show, they try and get a good sense of how you might be, with a woman. And, I don't think they're going to pick anyone that's kind of like, well, I've never done the dating thing before. It seems like all these guys kind of have, something going on for them. And so I didn't really have any, nervous emotions going into it, leading up to the process. But I swear to God, as soon as I got that congratulations letter, I was like, holy shit, this is going down. And I started to kind of get a little bit nervous. I'm like, Scott, what did you get me into? What am I about to get into right now?
Curse you, Scott.
Yeah, Scott. Thank you. I don't know what to say.
Oh my gosh, can you nominate him next, or is he?
But yeah, yeah, we'll see. Maybe he can get some payback. Maybe he'll make it further than I did. We'll see.
So yeah, did they have a rose ceremony in this one? Yes, they did. They sent home Mike, and they sent home Jean Blanc, and they sent home Kristan. I liked Kristan. He seemed like a nice guy.
Yeah, Kristan was cool. I actually got the chance to talk to him for a little bit too. I remember coming outside of the mansion, and he had the full basketball scene get up, and next thing I know, he's dunking over Becca, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
this guy's probably going to get a rose because that's pretty impressive. I don't see anyone else doing that.
Yeah. Also, though, I would be terrified of having someone dunk over me. I'd be like, please don't fall or slam the ball onto me.
It's happened to me, so I can. It's not pleasant.
What a burn on yourself. That's so sad.
Self-burn.
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty funny to see. Yeah, it's the one-on-one time that night. There was a few, I think, opportunities that some of the guys got with Becca that, might have seemed like it was kind of unfair for the rest. Because I know for at least most of the guys, they got the chance to sit her down, in front of the fireplace, outside on a bench and just have a conversation versus some of the guys, I look outside and Garrett's doing a full-on fly fishing scene. And then Kristan has a full, basketball hoop set up, and it's like, well, that is pretty nice for them.
Yeah.
I don't know. They kind of figure you out, I think, a little bit before the show, so they figure out your talents, what you're good at, and maybe one of the producers was like, well, we've never had a contestant dunk over the Bachelorette, so we'll see how this goes. And I think that's what Kristan actually, yeah, exactly. I think that's what he does for a living. And so they saw that and they're like, all right, this is going to be pretty cool. Let's do it.
To be fair, he's no Blake Griffin and Becca's not a Kia. So there's only so much you can do, but sports. Sports. There's been a couple of sports. Just keeping you honest, duo.
Thank you.
So I want to talk briefly about the new show that Mike Fleiss decided to throw on our television screen.
The proposal. Yes. What a way to find love, huh?
Yeah. They're like,
oh my gosh,
a couple of weeks too long. Let's just do one.
Wow. Yeah, a couple weeks. Let's just get right to it, right?
Yeah. More snap judgments.
God.
Wow. Speaking is hard. So yeah, about that show.
I loved the Fogman. The Fogman was the best.
Him lifted in an episode of Black Mirror or something. God, I felt so uncomfortable.
Yeah, from what I saw, the first episode was that I think he was a cop. I think it was the very first guy that was behind those little hidden shingles, and then the girls come out. I think he might have. I think he had the missing foot. He had a bad accident in the past.
Oh yeah.
And so that was the only one that I was actually able to see while I watched the show. But
there's only one.
It was entertaining for sure. It was entertaining to watch, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know. And also, why didn't we get to see him the whole time? What's the deal with that?
It's supposed to build suspense.
It builds the suspense. All of a sudden, he comes out. There he is.
I was kind of disappointed he wasn't a big blurry man. That would be so much more.
There was a post on the sub about how he's kind of a sleazeball. And by kind of, I mean a very big sleazeball.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's been really inappropriate with a bunch of women in his area, and he has a huge reputation for being that guy.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, well then, question also, in this show, it's just people from random parts of the United States. So how are you ever supposed to make that work anyways? Question. I don't even know you at all.
Let's get married.
Right. I know Becca's from, I think where's she from? Minnesota? Yeah. And then, I mean, from the guys I met, there's a few guys from LA, but then Mike was from the East Coast. There's guys, from, I mean, who knows where. It's basically all around the United States. So it's kind of tough to say, what's going to come into play with that.
Yeah. Usually when the people get engaged or married, I feel like they all end anyway. So that's the place to be, I guess, once you're done.
Right. Hollywood, here we come.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think.
Would you think if you guys would have, let's say, best case scenario, you really fall for her, you whatever. Were you open to moving? Or was that something you didn't even think about because you're like, let's see where this goes first?
Wow. It's one of those things. Like, I guess maybe I hadn't really thought about that too much yet. I know she's from Minnesota, but I figured maybe talking about, if it works out between us, wouldn't have been a good opener outside of the limo. Becca, if you pick me at the end of this thing, are you going to move to California? Like,
why not?
Do you want to come out here? Okay, I'll see you inside. I'm going to go grab a drink. We'll see.
I don't know. Just like some people, maybe they're like,
yeah.
about it. I have no idea.
I've seen way worse.
I've never been in this situation before.
I've seen way worse intros than that one. So like,
no, don't do that. Anybody.
Like that Camille guy, that poor Camille guy.
Oh man, I know. I was actually in the same limo as him, pulling up to the thing, and I didn't. You have no idea what anyone's gonna say. Everyone keeps it a big secret, but watching it air, I was like, oh my god, dude, what are you doing? Come on.
Yeah.
60-40. What is that?
Yeah, someone told us he didn't want to do it. He should, and then
that guy. He speaking of people who got shafted by the producers, that guy also got shafted. He's like a model. He models for a lot of brands.
A real model?
He's a real model. He's not a Wilhelmina. He's like a real model.
Well, Wilhelmina is a real modeling, but I guess there's different types of models, and it like goes by level. Anyways, it doesn't matter. No one cares.
Literally all of my model expertise comes from Zoolander.
Yeah.
So like
Blue Steel.
Blue Steel.
I mean, that would be interesting.
I just kept shouting Blue Steel but why male models every time George was on screen?
Oh my god, I know. I saw Camille's profile. The guy's got like almost 200,000 followers. I'm like, if you get this from the Bachelorette, like what?
No.
But I guess he's always been. I think his job title was like social media activist or something.
Participant.
So I guess maybe he's quite the activist. I don't know.
People do that on social media. All right, so I think that was it for talk, but we do have anything else that happened? We do have our thing where we do Rose of the Week and Limo Exit of the Week. So this is where you give your Rose of the Week to anybody in Bachelor Nation or whatever, and your Limo Exit to people maybe you've had too much of, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we say?
You need to take a break. Maybe you need to go away.
Yeah, and then we have one contestant question to throw at everybody because this year we didn't have any of the contestant question bios.
Bios were all like little blurbs, so
we get those weird questions. So we like to end it off with a real fun.
So let's start with Rose of the Week.
Yeah.
So anybody you want to give a shout out to in Bachelor Nation who deserves some love, who did something that you thought was pretty dope?
This could be like, you mean like, am I giving this to like one of the girls that's been on the show, or is this like one of the guys that I was able to meet, or like what's
anything really, or like
anything? Guys, we don't discriminate.
Yeah. I got to give this one to Mike Renner. I think he was a really good dude, and I was able to get the chance to talk to him, and he seems really relatable. So I know that he didn't really get too much airtime while he was on the show, but he was a really good dude. So I would say I would have to give it to him.
I like Mike. He was nice.
Yeah, sounds good. Any Limo Exit of the Week coming to mind?
Anyone who needs to step back, go away, flee. I have a couple in mind.
As far as like
Nation.
Bachelor Nation, anyone that needs to step away. What do you mean?
Like maybe needs a break from,
like they're too much on social.
Oh, maybe Lincoln needs to lay off the eggs in the morning. He eats too many of them, so maybe it makes him a little bit too crazy. We'll see.
All right.
Lay off the leg.
Lay
off the eggs, Lincoln. Lay off the legs. Lay off the legs and lay off the eggs. Come on.
Yeah, do your best. We don't want that guy that skips leg day though. None of that.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he needs more chest day so he can chop some wood. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. There you go. Too real.
So now we're gonna do contestant question.
Yeah,
so
do you have a question?
I made one up last time.
Oh, get it.
So I'll do that again this time.
We hire us to be a producer. Just kidding. That
seriously.
doesn't really sound like maybe the easiest job. So never mind.
I mean, I would if I ended up looking like Elon Gale.
Oh no. That was sweet. Okay.
So let's see. If what is your ideal, like, what is your ideal first date? No, this is just ideal date. Just first date. You haven't met someone. This is your first time meeting them. You're going on a date with them. What's your ideal first date?
Okay.
Ideal first date. You know, I kind of started doing the dating thing, I'd say in my early 20s was when I was really like, okay, I'm going to start, you know, doing this out. And I think at first when I did it, I went a little bit over the top. I didn't really have too much dating knowledge, I guess you could say, because I would take girls out to dinner on the first date, and it seems like it's a little bit much. I mean, I think the first date that I went on was like some seafood restaurant in San Francisco, and it was really expensive. And I told my friends, and they're like, dude, that's a little bit over the top. And I'm like, I think you're right. So my ideal first date,
so
exactly. You know, it seems like a little forward, you know, looking back on it. My ideal first date would be, I think, just going to like grab some food, maybe a drink, you know, not too late at night, not during the daytime. Cause I think, you know, the lunch thing is kind of like the friend zone status, you know, hey, you know, let's go grab some breakfast. You know, I think that's a little bit too much. So sometime like later on in the evening, you know, grabbing some food and grabbing a drink, you know, not at a place that's too expensive, but just kind of at an average place. It doesn't really say too much, but you're just kind of getting that one-on-one time to kind of, you know, feel the person out to see, you know, if this is going to be something that you would want to, you know, be worth pursuing.
Exactly. That's a good idea.
Yeah. That's a good
idea. I think I'll do me now because we go round table. I get the whole shorter date thing. I gotta say, I feel like I've been in a lot of long-term relationships, so I'm like, I can't think of like dates that I've been on where I don't know. Anyways, the point is, I am usually too terrified to eat on a date, which is so stupid, but I always get like, I feel like there's a lot of pressure and then like eating, and I don't know, I like to just enjoy my time eating, and I feel weird when I have to like get to know somebody and eat, and it's just too much. So I guess maybe like okay, if we did, we'd get like a small snack and like some coffee or whatever, like if it's early evening, because I drink coffee all the time, or like doing some sort of like kind of fun activity, like mini golfing or something. That way there's like an end point to it, but you could like go get some ice cream. Am I 12? I don't know.
That was what I was going to say. That was my first date. Why would you take that?
I don't know, but yeah, like it's cute, right? Because then you have like, okay, this begins here, but it also has an end point in case you're like, okay, cool, thanks, bye, if it's bad. And it's not super expensive. But if it's good, you can like be like, oh, let's go do this.
It's good. That would be mine as well. I think like mini golf or like bowling,
and
or
then
something.
You can like see what their level is, and just in their face.
That's right.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
That sounds like a great thing. Just rub it in your date's face when you beat them. I'm sure they will definitely ask for a second date.
We're not competitive at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like a nice fun activity.
Yeah.
And
so that would be good. Why don't they ever go golfing on the show?
Because golfing
not real golfing. Sorry, mini golfing.
Because it's cute, but it's like when you have like a TV crew at your disposal, you can do stuff like smash TVs.
Oh, that is way better.
I know.
That's a good first date. People do the smash car things. Okay, anyways, this is getting out of hand. So
I didn't even get to go.
Oh, you didn't get to go.
I love this.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that I don't get to have.
Can we chat more next week? Do you guys want to do another podcast next week?
For sure.
Do you just want to hear us arguing about video?
I like listening to this right now.
Okay, cool. Anyways, go on. How not to have a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that any activity where you get to kind of interact and like do something with the other person is good, because
really what a date is. Okay.
Well, no, like there's a lot of dates where it's like some people, like when I was a kid, it would be like, oh, let's go to a movie.
Oh yeah, movie.
And like even like lunch or dinner is annoying sometimes, because there's someone who's bad at talking to other people. Like when you're on a dinner date, that is literally the only thing you can do. But if it's like mini golf, or if it's like some activity that you do, you can talk about the activity. And then that gives you like a jumping off point, which for us like socially awkward people is a lot better than being like forced to sit at a table and being like, so what are your hobbies /
right
pastimes?
What do you like to do in your free time?
There it is.
You know, that's one of the things. There's definitely a lot of factors I think that go into it. Like, you know, is it a Bumble date? You know, is it a blind date? You know, do you know this person at all? So that could kind of switch it up too. But I kind of like to date. I've always kind of dated friends of friends, so we have something in common. it's kind of a good focal point. There's always that good, if you have a good foundation to talk about, like you can always fall back on something. That's always kind of a good way to go about too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Dating advice here on the podcast.
Dating 101. Dating 101.
This is a podcast about a love reality show. This is about finding love.
We might need. No, I'm just kidding, guys.
We might do. That's what Dean's podcast is for.
Oh, right. That's fine. That's fine. We'll take the experienced listeners.
So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening, and thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun talking to you guys. Absolutely. I appreciate it.
Of course. All right.
So,
we want to, are we giving him his shout out?
We're giving you your shout out. I'm trying to find your Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So, please follow Grant at G Vandevanter. That's GVANDEVANTER. Yeah. To see some awesome boxing videos.
Yeah, and some comedy sketches as well.
Absolutely.
Don't forget to check us out on the subreddit, which is reddit.com/r/The Bachelor. We have an Instagram, which is at Bachelorette, and our Twitter is at Reddit Bachelor because we have continuity. Next week we will be talking more about the show because it's airing. Yeah. Sometimes you got to do it's the tease. You got to get people excited.
Get ready, y'all.
And it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So Grant, any last words before we sign out?
Stay true to yourself, be who you are, and always do you. That's it.
Yeah. And never go to a seafood restaurant.
And never go to a seafood restaurant on your first date.
Yeah,
100%.
It's a bit wordy, but it works. So.
That is a killer 1-2 punch.
Yeah, there you go. All right, guys, thanks for listening, and see you next week.
Bye.
All right, bye, guys.